The Chinese, a group that, bar a few ghoulified hostile soldiers, or POWs, we have rarely got to interact or talk to. That ends today. This episode we shall take a look at the Yangtze, a pre-war Chinese submarine with a soul-seeing ghoul inhabitant. It is located just off the coast of Boston, near the Shamrock Tap House. We first learn of it when this boy tells us that a sea monster is peeping out of the water.
Where did you see it?
Over there, behind all those shipwrecks. It keeps peeking up out of the water. Hey, do you think it's dangerous? It hasn't attacked anyone yet, but maybe it's just waiting.
Have you seen more than just its eye?
Nah, just the eye stalk. You know, like some bugs have. Every once in a while, it comes out of the water and looks around, like it's hunting for something. I bet it wants fresh meat, like us. Only then you'd have to kill it and leave its dead body here all bloody and stuff. That would be so awesome.
You want it to attack us? That's nuts, kid.
Yeah, 'cause then I get to see a cool fight.
Well, I can't fault the lad. Moses knows a kaiju fight would be fantastic crack. But that is not what this is. Upon arriving at the scrap-filled barge near the eye, we find the remains of a sleeping sailor, most likely killed in the initial blast wave, as the alternative is they slowly died of radiation poisoning, which is ever so slightly less peaceful. Now it's onto the eye sticking out of the water, and into the depths of the beast, which is a submarine. So, our first submarine in Fallout 4. Well, for going on over 200 years now, it looks to be in better shape than some of the vaults, and considering what went on here, that is impressive. Now before we go and have a wee gander, let's talk to the surviving captain on the ship and learn a little of what went on here.
I watched you talk to a boy on the dock. Swim out here. You appear able, but not a threat. No. Come in, Heping. Peace?
Who are you?
Zhao, captain of the Chinese Navy. I sail the Yangtze 31. This Chentian. This submarine. My beautiful boat. Speak harsh words of me if you must. But my Yangtze, speak of her with respect. Why are you here? War is over. Long over. And my Yangtze holds no bao, no treasure. Nothing for you to plunder.
Have you been here for 200 years?
It has been that long. 是的, yes. I suppose it has. Long ago, just after the fire, Yangtze struck our mine. My Chentian barely made it here into harbor. City already in ruins by then. Few noticed us. Fewer cared. Too much tongku. Your arrival is good xingyun for me. I need help, you see. Yangtze is not seaworthy. You will help me fix her?
Why would you trust me? A stranger?
Trust is risk. But a man must plow with oxen he has. You are not like raiders that board my Chentian, my Yangtze. You show peace. 谢谢.
What will you do with the submarine once it's fixed?
I sail for Zhongguo. Return to China, where I belong. My jia. My home.
What will you do there?
Anything Zhao can do. If China is gone, I will build, house by house. And if no houses can be built, I will die. My jia. At peace.
I'm at your disposal.
Ha! Yes! Thank you. Yes, my friend. But first problem. Yangtze has no power. If we get reactor working, probably enough. There is damage to a dampening coil. Bad damage. Need a new coil. I have information. Intelligence from wartime. Dampening coils are at a facility called Saugus Ironworks.
What about the nuclear fuel?
I have idea for that. But first, dampening coil.
Why haven't you repaired the Yangtze yourself?
For long, I was happy to stay here. Of late, though, I've been thinking of my Zuguo. Of China. Also, my Yangtze is not safe. Raiders come. I have fought them. But I fear leaving her alone to get what I need for repair.
Aye, aye, Captain. I'll get them for you.
I am not your captain. Zhao will do. You go. Get the dampening coil. I will work on repairing the bridge control systems. Much gongzuo.
So, we get a lot of information here. Zhao is the captain of the Yangtze, a sub that, just from the way he speaks, clearly means a lot to him. Since he served in the Chinese Navy and captained this sub, that puts him at over 200 years old, and this makes him the first pre-war Chinese soldier that we could talk to and get a sense of what it must have been like, and that wasn't trying to kill us. The boat struck a mine and is no longer seaworthy, and he asks us to go to Saugus Ironworks, which is located near Dunwich Boars, and which we will cover in a later video. He seems to be determined to repair the ship, and looking around we can see some evidence of this already on several of the workstations here, which is quite a quantity of work to do by oneself. Notice when he was talking he said few noticed us. Now unless there's something weird going on between him and the boat, I'm not one to judge, and unless he can control it with his mind, then he had a crew. Look at all these workstations. He did not man them all by himself. He would have had quite a large crew to help him in this, and yet he only ever refers to himself. He doesn't mention the rest of the crew when we talk to him, and none of them can be found up here when we enter. The next thing to think about is this. What role did this vessel play? It was right beside Boston when the nukes dropped, and it's unlikely that a vessel of this size would be expected to carry out such close reconnaissance. Well, we went to Saugus, and we have what we need, so let's talk to him and see what else we can find out.
I have the dampening coil.
You have returned. I was not sure you would. Next, we need more nuclear fuel to feed Yangtze's reactor.
Where are you going to get that?
Now that is the right question to ask. 200 years ago, I launched all of Yangtze's high-yield nuclear missiles, as ordered. For 200 years, I have lived with that guilt, that shame. So much fire, such bay, but one missile failed to launch. You must go down, remove the warhead, then bring it to me.
Why don't you get it?
Because I have different tasks. While you are getting warhead, I will prepare the reactor. But now I must warn you. There is danger. Wishen. Old crew. Still down there. Not okay like their captain. Worse. They do not harm me. But they will kill you. I cannot kill them. Still, they are my crew. My family. Jaren. All of us. But you must do what you must do.
That certainly changes our perception of him just a little bit. This sub had nuclear warheads, and they used them all. Well, bar one. One could even go as far to say that the initial impact in Boston may have come from one of these warheads. Whatever is the case, Zhao has blood on his hands. However, it was wartime, and it's not as if America did any better. Shit, It's not as if we've done any better. We kill people all the time. Also, I think, in a way, he has served his penance. He did have a crew, but they were all either feral, shadows of their former selves, or dead, and he has had to live with that for centuries. In this room we find many of the dead, some at their workstations, meaning whatever happened, happened fast. Now it's clear that much of the sub still works, so they didn't die from the mine. The only other possibility is the radiation that affected Zhao and turned him, and the rest into ghouls. The ones who died were, in my opinion, quite lucky. Getting a bit deeper in, we will take a look at the living and recreational areas for the crew. But first, Jesus, did you ever in your life see a nuclear reactor in such a state? This was most likely one of the causes of the radiation leakage inside this ship, though it does not appear to be leaking anymore. The crew shower area is just ahead here, and it's actually pretty funny as it's a military submarine, yet some of the facilities here are close to or better than Vault 114, which is excellent perspective on just how shit that vault would have been. Next is the dining area, this dark room that gives us a look at the last moments of several members of the crew. Drink and games are left out, and skeletons can be found in positions that suggest they were dining when they died. These are most likely the members of the crew who were unlucky enough, or lucky enough, not to have been turned into ghouls by radiation when it was released. The kitchen does look quite barren, as does the storage area, meaning that very little food seems to be left at this point, though whether this is because Zhao ate it, or it was already running low, I am not so sure. The crew's sleeping quarters gives us a look into how their everyday lives might have been, as well as how many spent their last moments. Some, like this chap, are dead in their bunks, most likely dying in their sleep. A slight mercy. This skeleton, however, raises one of the most puzzling points about this submarine. This was a Chinese Navy sub. They hated the capitalist America. So why and how did this person get Nuka-Cola, and in such a large quantity of it at that? I mean, it's not outside the realm of possibility that some made its way to China, but I doubt that so much would be present on the ship, and grocery runs seem a bit outside the realm of possibility, even after the mine stopped the submarine and the bombs dropped. They died clutching the Nuka-Cola truck, and it looks like their bunk collapsed, so they too may have died in their sleep, hoarding all these caps like a greedy git. This study gives us a bit of insight into how young some of the sailors here could have been, as, given it was wartime, conscription was likely. That, or they were feeling very scared, which is likely as well given the circumstances. The doctor's office, or surgery, is set up inside this room, with a possible unruly patient in the corner. Based on the handcuffs lying on their chest, it seems that they were either receiving treatment against their will, or they were confined to this room for some reason, possibly because of events after the missiles were deployed, or, if they were opposed to deploying the missiles, because of their actions before it. A few more fragments of several skeletons can be found scattered around the rest of the sleeping area, along with this fellow. It appears that they drank several beers, passed out, and then never woke up again. Many of the poses that the dead skeletons occupy do not scream military discipline. The reason for their appearance is probably guilt and shame, as if they did die due to the radiation, it was after they fired the warheads. They might have all become aware of what most likely happened to China after that, and discipline and morale gradually fell away, as they realised there was not much point going on, and that they were stuck anyway. The lower half of the ship is where most of the actual equipment was kept, and it is also where many of the ghouls are present, as well as large numbers of barrels of nuclear waste. Now, I'm not sure how these got on board or why they were brought on. Based on the seaweed around them and their rusted appearance, Zhao may have brought them on board after he realised that radiation sustains ghouls. He didn't want to see his crewmates die, but given that he couldn't offer any other help, providing them with nourishment, if this is why the barrels were here, was the only thing he could do. The actual warhead is found inside this room, and it could also be a possibility that it may have contributed to the radiation leakage on this ship, though the reactor was most likely the source of the majority of it. Going through here and seeing all the ghouls, or at least their corpses, makes Zhao seem even more impressive. He managed to stop the sub sinking or becoming completely inoperable after centuries, and the volume of ghouls and skeletons gives you a pretty good idea of how many people were once needed to maintain this vessel. Also, something sad to note is this glowing one, the first mate, turned into a feral as well, and more irradiated than the others. Being that they were the first mate, they would have been close friends of Zhao's. At the back of the ship, what I assume is something to do with the engine could be found, as well as some evidence the ship was a bit waterlogged at one point or another. My reasoning? The barnacles. A few at this height is to be expected, but some are on the tip of the machine or on the engine at a level above the door, a level which I am assuming is above the recommended water level. Also, this skeleton. By Jove, I love Bethesda physics. Now, let's go get the warhead and bring it back and see what other information Zhao can give us.
Here is the warhead.
No difficulty with the warhead, I trust.
What are you gonna do with the other missiles?
Nothing. That is what. No plans. They are small, tactical, of no real use to me. Now, here is what you must do. Head down to the reactor. Take dampening coil and warhead with you. First, insert the dampening coil. Carefully. 小心. Then, put warhead into the reactor. As you do that, I monitor power levels from the control room. Do not put warhead in first. Do that? 死亡. Death for you and me both.
Captain Zhao.
Was not sure my beautiful Yangtze would hold together. But we did it. Here, payment Zhao promised you. Plus, to show my thanks, I give you these, transponders. Each one acts as a homing signal for missile I can fire from my Yangtze. Only small, tactical moves. But you should still get as far away as possible. Throw transponder like a grenade to activate it. Then wait for 爆炸. Kaboom.
Why would you let me use up your missiles?
I have no wish to bring weapons back home. I leave the fire here, and I owe you. Zhao pays his debts. Besides, my missiles just might save your bacon. Soon I will set sail. You should get ashore. Farewell, American. I must admit, I have met worse capitalists.
And I too have met worse communist bastards. So he gives us a few transponders that will allow us to call in a tactical nuclear strike, though I wish we got more of them. The last place to look is the captain's quarters, where Zhao must have ate and slept. I say must have as, if we say that this lot died when the others did, he just left them here and never bothered to move them, meaning he may not have been here very often. Now that is an interesting point to bring up. I get the corpses down where the ghouls are, fair enough. He probably didn't want to see his crew like that. But the skeletons here or in the control room were not near the ghouls, and he could have just moved them. It could be argued that he wanted to leave them where they died, as a sign of respect. But I don't think leaving someone's skeleton sprawled on the floor under the chair they knocked over on their way down as they died is very respectful. The Yangtze, a pre-war Chinese Navy submarine that brought the fire. It was captained by Zhao, a Chinese ghoul, and his crew. After receiving their orders, they fired their warheads at Boston, one of which may have been responsible for the primary impact crater and the explosion we see at the beginning of the game. Sometime after, a sea mine damaged their ship, including the reactor. The resulting radiation killed some of the crew and turned the rest into ghouls. Discipline was already slipping at this point, possibly as a result of a lack of morale. It's unclear how quickly the rest of the crew turned feral, but it's a testament to Zhao's will that, after so much isolation, he himself did not turn. He asks us to help him repair the reactor. However, he bears the guilt and shame of what he did, born of years of carrying it on his conscience. His only wish now is to take his vessel and return to his Jia, his home, China. What has become of it, we do not know, but he will try and rebuild if he can, and if not, he shall die, and finally, after centuries, be at peace. The ancient captain, his noble ship, and damned crew. I hope you enjoyed our look at them. If you did like it, give the video a like, and if you want regular updates, subscribe. Any suggestions for lower or future videos should be left in the comments below. Better yet, go onto my subreddit so we can discuss them in more detail. It's linked in the description. If you wish to, you can support me on Patreon, which is also linked in the description. Go have a gander at the rewards. Follow me on Twitter or Facebook to get regular updates or have a wee chat. Any business you wish to discuss, email me at thenthapple.business@gmail.com and I will get back to you as soon as possible. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I hope to see you in the next one. And until then, goodbye.